Welcome to Daily English Room. Today's topic is social media. How often do you use social media, and which platforms do you prefer?
Between teaching and taking care of my children, I try to limit my social media use to about an hour a day. I mostly use Facebook to connect with other teachers and share educational resources. Instagram is also helpful for finding creative activities for both my students and my kids. Oh, and WhatsApp is essential for coordinating with other parents and my colleagues.
When did you start using social media?
It wasn't until I was in university, around 2008, that I created my first Facebook account. Mind you, at that time, social media wasn't nearly as ubiquitous as it is today. I remember being quite hesitant about it. Had my friends not insisted, I might not have joined at all. What's particularly interesting is how my usage has evolved over the years. Whereas I once used it purely for socializing, these days it's become an invaluable tool for connecting with other educators. That said, I do sometimes miss the simplicity of those early days.
What kind of people do you like to be friends with on those social media websites?
As an educator, I'm particularly drawn to connecting with other teachers, especially those working in multilingual environments. Not only do they share valuable teaching resources, but they also understand the unique challenges we face. Having said that, I'm quite cautious about accepting friend requests from current students or their parents. It's essential to maintain professional boundaries. What I find especially enriching are connections with educators from different cultural backgrounds. If I hadn't expanded my network globally, I would have missed out on so many innovative teaching methods.
Is there anything you don't like about social media?
Where do I begin? As an educator, I'm particularly concerned about the impact social media has on my students' attention spans. You see, they've grown accustomed to consuming bite-sized content, haven't they? What's more, I've noticed an increasing pressure on young people to present a perfect image online. Were it not for social media, I believe many of my students would feel less anxious about their appearances and achievements. Having said that, what bothers me most is how social media can sometimes replace genuine human connection. I mean, there's no substitute for real-world interactions.
Do you think social media has more positive or negative effects on society?
As both a teacher and a mother, I have mixed feelings. Social media has opened up incredible educational opportunities. My students can practice English with peers worldwide, and there are countless free resources available. However, I worry about cyberbullying and the pressure young people face to present perfect lives online. I try to teach both my students and my children to use social media responsibly and to value real-world connections.
How do you think social media will evolve in the next 5 years?
I hope to see more educational applications. Maybe social media platforms specifically designed for learning, where students can safely interact with peers globally. I think we'll also see better parental controls and more emphasis on digital literacy. As an educator, I'd love to see social media evolve to support different learning styles and become a more valuable tool in the classroom.
How has social media changed the way you communicate with people from different cultures?
It's been eye-opening. As a teacher, I connect with educators worldwide, and we share teaching methods that reflect our different cultures. I've learned to be more mindful of cultural sensitivities when posting content. For instance, what's considered appropriate classroom behavior in Morocco might be different in other countries. These cultural exchanges have made me a better teacher and helped my students understand diversity better.
What's the most surprising opportunity you've gotten through social media?
Through a Facebook group for ESL teachers, I was invited to co-author a textbook. A publisher saw my posts about teaching methods for bilingual children and reached out. Now, my experiences teaching in Morocco are helping teachers worldwide. It's amazing how sharing classroom tips led to such a significant opportunity.
How do you manage your time on social media to stay productive?
With teaching and family responsibilities, time management is crucial. I set specific times for social media, usually early morning before my children wake up, and then again after they're in bed. I use the saved posts feature on Instagram and Facebook to quickly find teaching resources when I need them, rather than browsing endlessly. During school hours, I keep social media notifications off completely.
What advice would you give to someone just starting to use social media professionally?
Don't be afraid to start small and be authentic. As a teacher, I began by simply sharing one teaching tip each week. Engage with other educators and build genuine connections. It's not just about followers, but creating a supportive professional network. Also, be mindful of privacy, especially when sharing anything related to students or children. Always ask for permission and blur faces when necessary.
Have you ever taken a break from social media? How did it affect your personal and professional life?
I tried a 2-week break during school holidays. It was refreshing to focus completely on my family without thinking about posting or checking updates. However, I did feel disconnected from my teacher community, and I missed some valuable resource sharing. The experience taught me to be more intentional with my social media use. Now, I have social media free times during the day, especially during family meals and bedtime routines.
If you could change one thing about how social media works, what would it be and why?
I've been thinking about this quite a lot lately. Were I in charge of social media platforms, I would prioritize educational content over viral trends. Despite the many benefits social media offers, it tends to promote superficial content rather than substantive material. By the time my students finish scrolling through their feeds, they could have learned something valuable instead of just being entertained.
What impact do you think social media will have on future generations, particularly in your field of work?
As an educator, I can't help but wonder about the future of learning. Social media could revolutionize education, couldn't it? Not only might students be able to connect with peers globally, but they could also access diverse learning resources instantly.
How has your approach to privacy on social media evolved over time?
Before I became a teacher, I hardly gave privacy a second thought. Since then, my approach has changed dramatically. Given that I work with children, I have to be extremely careful about what I post. Whereas I used to share classroom photos freely, I now ensure that no student can be identified in any of my posts. Furthermore, I've had to educate parents about the importance of digital privacy. It's become part of my role as an educator.
At what age are children generally allowed to use social media in your country?
In Morocco, the situation is somewhat ambiguous. While most social media platforms officially require users to be 13, there isn't any strict enforcement at a national level. As a teacher, I've noticed that children as young as 10 or 11 are already using social networks, primarily WhatsApp, to communicate with family. Were it up to me, I would advocate for stricter controls. That said, it's worth noting that many parents see social media as a way for their children to improve their digital literacy skills.
That's all for today's daily English room conversation practice. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, like, leave a comment, and hit the subscribe button. See you next time.